touchdown, Penn State. The Nittany Lions in overtime win it. There he goes. He is gone. 30, 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown, Penn State. Intercepted. Intercepted by the Nittany Lions. Touchdown, Penn State.
You could not ask for a better day for college football here at West Shore Home Field at Beaver Stadium for the first time in nearly a month. The Penn State football team back at home today. And there, Terry Smith, the interim head coach, will lead his team into Beaver Stadium for the first time at the helm of his alma mater as the Nittany Lions look to get that elusive Big Ten win, taking on second-ranked and rolling Indiana here today. Brian Tripp, former Nittany Lions, Christian Hackenberg, and Jason Kabinda here in the shadows of Beaver Stadium on what is a gorgeous Saturday morning here in November for college football. Great to see you guys, and it's going to be really emotional, I know, for Coach Smith when he walks through that tunnel today.
Yeah, it's good to be back. Excited for Coach Smith. He's a guy who's definitely earned this opportunity. I hope he takes it all in. I know everything that's going on, it's tough, but the human element of that experience is going to be pretty cool for him, and excited for a brother of ours, former Letterman, former coach, guy we have a ton of respect for, having that opportunity. So,
absolutely. Indiana's never came in here and gotten one. I don't see why it should happen today, man. I'm excited for Terry. Incredible opportunity. Just the opportunity to lead those guys out of the tunnel. I think so much, changes in that responsibility, and I think he'll put his own little twist on it. I know we used to link arms with Coach Franklin, so maybe Coach Smith, puts his little twist on it today. But I think it's a first cold weather game, first football weather game. I'm feeling it in my hands cold? Right now. And I remember how it felt to smash guys in this type of weather and how your hands go all numb sometimes. There's just something about it, man. These are the type of games that display toughness. I'm excited.
I don't know. When you're in the sun, I'm not sure it's all that cold today. This sounds like a guy who moved to Florida and played indoors in Detroit.
I used to be a hard-nosed, gritty guy, and now I'm just a wuss.
Yeah, I think he's slightly pampered.
Florida weather got me.
So coming up on today's show, we're obviously going to talk about the Penn State football team, the coaching search, but we're also going to take a look at the college football playoff rankings and how Kurt Cignetti has turned Indiana around in 2 years. They have 20 wins over the last 2 years, team that's ranked number 2 in the country. And as those first rankings came out, some people thought maybe they'd have a chance to be number 1. Penn State, this tough schedule. We'll get your questions as well and have our first Modelo Cup here today on the Modelo Penn State football pregame show. Penn State obviously coming off a really difficult stretch. We're talking about Terry Smith to open here. You have the 1-point loss at Iowa, a bye week, you get a little bit of a reset. And then last week at Ohio State, you end up putting up 14 points in the first half. Ohio State had only allowed 12 first half points all year, and you get 2 red zone touchdowns, 17-14 at the half. And then ultimately, the number 1 team in the country looks every bit the number 1 team in the country in the second half of that game. But there are a few silver linings, right? The way Katron Allen is running the football right now, almost 6 yards per carry. A couple of things, Ethan Grunkemeyer in those first 2 games wasn't perfect, but talk about 2 tough places to play for your first 2 starts, and then the same for Terry. First 2 games as a head coach, 2 really difficult environments to go into, and now you get a chance to come back at home today to take on Indiana.
Yeah, I think the reality of the situation is all factors involved. This is not what anybody expected, and it's really, really tough to find those small wins, but at the end of the day, that's what this coaching staff, this team needs to continue to do, is fight, stack small wins, silver linings, and try to put a complete football game together, because the reality of the situation is again, as you mentioned last week, you take Ohio State to halftime, and they're sweating it out a little bit, and ultimately we came out and didn't execute in the back half, and they were able to run away. But this is not it's not a talent issue. This is a cohesive, complementary football confidence issue, in my opinion. A lot of things that have hindered their ability to really find a hot streak and ride it. But at the end of the day, you have no other option but to continue to push through, and you have to figure out ways how to manufacture things within your offense, within your defense, that ultimately gives you a chance to win these games, because that's ultimately what you're going to be judged by.
Yeah, I think for me, at the end of the day, it really comes down to pride. I remember being over at that UCLA game, down 27-7 at halftime. Seeing some guys come out that locker room and kind of lacking some of that juice and that energy. You look at games like the Iowa, the Northwestern. I mean, we had leads at points where we could have finished those games if maybe the energy was there. And obviously, the season hasn't gone how we wanted it to go. Our goals and things for this season are gone, and they're not going to happen. But at the end of the day, there's a sense of pride in knowing that you're still the one writing the story. Nobody else is writing the story for you. And how you go out there and how you play and the way you go about your business, the way you have energy and effort and the way you finish each and every single play, that speaks to you, that speaks to the seniors, that speaks to your legacy at the end of the day. And that's what I want to see today is I want to see these guys continue to write their story and understand that the pen is still in their hands.
Yeah, and you may not have an opportunity to go to the college football playoff. You're trying to just get to a bowl game at this point. But if this group could get a signature win for Terry Smith here against the number 2 team in the country, a team that looks possibly as good as any Penn State has seen over the last couple of years, right? When you look at where Indiana is right now, you have a chance to get that signature moment for a group that's not going to have a chance to achieve their ultimate goal at the end of the season. But we want to talk about, right, you're sitting at 0-5 in the Big Ten right now. Things have gone a little bit sideways. Why have they gone a little bit sideways? And today, up front, Indiana is really good along the offensive line and its defensive front seven. And I'll tell you from being on the sideline last week at Ohio State, what struck me is the size of Ohio State's offensive line compared to our defensive front for Penn State. Just the size of the players on the line of scrimmage. That's part of the reason why Penn State has struggled to get a pass rush going this year.
Yeah, I think it's been really tough. And when you look at the overall issues, and it's on both sides of the ball, I think it's a mismatch of personnel and scheme, and there's not a ton of cohesiveness or purpose, if that makes a lot of sense. When I watch this offense, it's tough. On the defensive side, you're trying to be gap sound, but you have a defensive line that's not really built to have guys who can hold 2 gaps and let your linebackers go make you right and make plays in space. Much more of like a knife attack and kind of make everything right as it's a blitzkrieg type of feel.
Yep.
It just hasn't ever like gelled. And when you watch it, it's so frustrating because, again, I don't think it's a lack of talent or personnel. That's something that we can continue to beat home. Coach Franklin's done a good job in the past of making sure that we had depth in certain issues and all the anticipation heading up with the talent that's within this roster. I just think it's been a lack of putting personnel in the best situations to be successful.
Yeah, and in this conference, to be successful, you have to make life miserable on opposing quarterbacks and then be able to contain those quarterbacks when your pass rush doesn't get home or flusters that quarterback to step up. And Jason, I know you want to take a deep dive into the footage as to why Penn State has not been able to get home with elite defensive players on that defensive front.
Yeah, I would like to jump into this film, and you guys hit on a lot of great points. Hitting on this telestrator here, okay? So we're just down the middle of a lot of guys. Like, we rush 3 here. We're supposed to have guys on the outside. We don't get the quarterback to step up in the pocket. We rush 5 again. We come close, but we get beat over the top. DB's not knowing that the ball's going to come out quick. We're too aggressive in certain points. It's just not great. We go simulated pressure, and then we got 2 guys on the edges, both running around the outsides. So there's just a mixture of things on each and every single play that isn't necessarily going right for us. Deny, we got a twist going on here. We have a quarterback that's not even a dual threat guy, steps up into the twist and makes us miss. So it's tough. We're down the middle of guys. There's no rush lane discipline. We're playing a guy like, Julian saying, as if he's a dual threat guy that we want to keep in the pocket. We're not making him move. So, like you said, there's a lot of issues, a lot of finesse-y things going on, a lot of too much down the middle and not attacking offensive lines on their edges and things of that nature. Pass rush lane discipline as well. A guy like Julian Sand is just maneuvering around that pocket in and out of rush lanes way too easily. So that's obviously got to stop. Mendoza's also he's not a great athlete, but he's a guy who's really aware and who's able to step up in those pass rush lanes while having his eyes down the field and finding his receiver. So that's another thing we're going to have to show that we improved on this week is keeping him in there and then finishing our plays when we get close. We got to get home on this guy and make him uncomfortable today.
Well, let's hear from interim head coach Terry Smith about what they can do to try to make life more difficult today on Fernando Mendoza, the Indiana quarterback.
Man, that's a game changer. If we can get pressure with the forward, now you can sit and play coverage all day. We want to be creative, though. One of the things with Coach Knowles is he's dialing up different, blitz packages so that we can put some pressure on and try to get the ball out sooner. When guys max protect, then the routes are deeper. And if they connect, then now they're explosive. And we have to minimize the explosive plays this weekend.
Terry, how have they done on the blitz in terms of A, timing it, but B, at times scraping so they can disguise it?
Yeah, I think we did a much better job at Ohio State. We had struggled early in the season doing that, but I think our guys are now really starting to turn the corner with this defense. I think the last 2 weeks have been really, really good and promising. So I'm looking forward to seeing these guys out on today to see how that goes.
All right, Jason, you had your breakdown of what you've seen. Then you hear what Terry had to say about what they can do with the blitz, extra pressure. Obviously, everyone knows the loss that Tony Rojas has been to this defense. What's your reaction to what you heard from Terry?
Yeah, I think it's tough because there's some plays out there that I watch on film where we got the right calls, we got the right things going on, but fundamentally as a defense, we're not doing the right things, whether it's leverage, whether it's tackling. Like, it always seems to be one thing here or there. So I think it's just a measure of being able to just play more consistently in general, in the scheme and in the things that we're doing on a simpler level before we get to anything else, because that's really the things that are biting us in the butt right now. I mean, you saw in one of those clips, the 45-yard pass to Jeremiah Smith. I mean, we got the perfect call. We've got one rat. We've got him doubled on the inside. Then our double guy just gets beat over the top, which, absolutely can happen. And, people might look at Jim Knowles, but the reality is like, man, you got the perfect call. You just got to go out there and execute it. So there's a lot of things like that going on.
And that has to be the most frustrating thing for a coach, where you can't just point to one player or one guy or one situation. It's one play, it's this breakdown. It's this guy. The next play, it's someone else, right?
Yep.
So it's just a recurring issue. There's just not that. Coach Franklin kept going back to the word consistency. There's not that consistency in execution across the board, and you can't identify a single issue because of that, and that makes it so much harder to coach up. It's not just like an easy plug and play.
Yeah, it's hard to narrow in, and I think that this defense, you're not going to fix that problem in the middle of the season, point blank, period.
Yeah.
So you have a couple options, right? You either come in and you simplify and you really hone in on those extremely disruptive plays. And I think that's what our defense needs to be. It needs to be a bend, don't break. We haven't had a great ability to stop the run, specifically down the middle in the heart of our defense. Obviously, the plays over the top have hurt us against the better teams like Ohio State. So you have to kind of think like we're gonna give a little here, but at the end of the day, our explosive plays and our shots and our executed in terms of big blitzes on third downs and winning those gotta have it scenarios is what this defense needs to lean into, because you're really asking your team to execute on a smaller portion at the highest level of plays, as opposed to trying to do it consistently throughout 4 quarters, because we've shown we can't do that.
Yeah. That just starts to me with culture, player leadership, having a standard. I mean, if I'm being honest, at the start of that 2016 season, that's kind of how our defense was looking when we were 2-2. And I remember it was the guys in the locker room. It was the Marcuses, myself, Grant Haley, really having a call and being like, yo, like, we need to get our ish together right now. Like, we don't have the rest of the season. We don't have how it is. 2 losses at that point in time. 14 playoff at that time. 2 losses. You were out, So that's leadership to me. That's players. That's having a standard. That's saying enough is enough. So guys got to step up and get those kinds of things fixed.
And it's that same ish on offense, right, Christian, where you're not able to get the big vertical plays. And I gave you a little nugget before. Penn State in the Big Ten only has 11 plays of 20 or more yards offensively. So they're not able to get that explosive. And you have a guy like Katron Allen running the ball for 6 yards per carry, but they haven't been able to get vertical in the passing game. Terry's talked about it time and time again, but they still have not been able, when you look at the offensive side, to do that.
It's super frustrating because when you just peel the layers of the onion back, it's like you can run the football. You have a running back who's averaging almost 6 yards a carry. So when you're talking about manufacturing shot plays and vertical passing game, just marry it with your run schemes.
What more could you
know what I
ask
mean?
for?
It's like hard outside zone play action, marry it with a pop. If you got quarters, try to put these guys in positions where they have to make decisions, right? I either have to fill my lane with violence and conviction, and then risk getting beat over the top, or I sit back and Katron gets 5 yards and we stay on schedule and continue to chew clock. We just don't put people in binds. A lot of our shot plays seem to be very gimmicky, manufacturing, reverse, try to throw a ball with Liam Cliff. Like, there's not a lot of just basic level flow with what we do, what we present, putting defenders' eyes in tough situations.
Yeah.
Because, again, I think we have the personnel. You bring almost 3,000 yards of receiving in from 3 different players at 3 different schools from last year. Our tight end room, although we lose Tyler Warren, relatively deep, a lot of guys who can make plays too. So there's a lot of just personal mismatches, and I think the best thing I can say is offensive football is super simple. It's numbers, leverage, and matchups. If you can build everything around that, I think you'll be in a good position, but we just haven't been able to make what we do well, put the defense in binds to ultimately capitalize on vertical explosive plays.
And because they were able to run the ball last week with some success, especially early, like this is a surprising number when I went back through the box score. Penn State was 8 for 15 on third downs. That's better than 50% last week on the road against the nation's #1 defense, Ohio State. To me, that shows that you're being on schedule. And Ethan Grunkemeyer, he was far from perfect last week. He missed some throws, but he showed the ability to step up in the pocket and make a few tough throws on third downs to convert as well. So they were doing some things right to get themselves into manageable situations on third down. Like, to me, that's a sign that you're trending in the right direction, but now you have to put the full puzzle together, and you have to do it for 60 minutes if you want any chance against a team like Indiana.
Yeah, and we talked about this, on the pocket earlier this week, and I think the biggest thing I feel like is missing, from our offense this year is the lack of manipulation. Now, one thing I loved so much that I felt like AK did really well last year, he was so good at drawing a picture. He's so good at building a picture, really. And that's what great offensive coordinators in general do throughout the game. They build a picture. They show you certain elements. They show you certain pictures. They make things and make them all look the same, and then they're different. And then they hit you with gut punches where it looks the same, and now, it's this. We're hitting stutter plays where we got 2 linemen pulling, and Katron's freaking hitting it. Okay, let's pull those guards. Now we're going to run the over the top because the linebackers are going to float. Like, those little things and those little marriages between run and pass and things that I felt like worked so well for us last year just seem to be missing a bit this year. And I hope, today we're able to get back to that and we're able to start manipulating defenses again the way we were able to do so, so well last year.
Yeah, frankly, the schemes need to create easy throws for Ethan. Ethan, you can't expect a kid who's coming into his first starting role in these types of scenarios to come out and just make throws or make things happen with matchup ball. He just hasn't had enough reps under his belt. So as an offensive coordinator, when you're talking about manufacturing explosives, you need to make it easier for him, and there's a way to do that with the scheme and the personnel we have.
All right, Jason, I'll give it to you. Now that the sun went in and the wind's picking up a little bit.
I got a little teeth chatter.
Let's take a look. That's because, when you feel a cool breeze in the air, that means it's November and we have our first college football playoff rankings to look at. Like that transition? That was smooth. Ohio State #1, Indiana #2, Texas A&M, Alabama, Georgia. A lot of the teams you expect to be there, but also if you look at the entirety of the top 25, there's some programs, Indiana included, not your traditional blue bloods right now in college football. Any surprise at the top for you guys with what we saw unveiled this week?
I'm just looking and seeing that we're not even sniffing it.
Yeah.
We're not even sniffing that list right now. That's my pride is hurting, that's all.
To give you a surprise and a little shout out to my father's alma mater and my hometown team, the Virginia Cavaliers are surprising for me. Holding, I think, the top rank in the ACC. So just to put some color into that graphic and some effort for our team that put that together. So there's no comments there other than what Jason said. So.
All right, but I think it does lead to an interesting discussion, right? You have a team like a Virginia that comes out of nowhere. You don't really expect it. Indiana, what they've accomplished the last 2 seasons. How has that gap closed between your Vanderbilt? Let's put it in that mix. Yeah. Why has that gap closed between the traditional blue bloods that you see there, and in an expanded playoff, it's going to happen, and then some of these teams that are new to this type of stage in college football?
I think it's the combination of the transfer portal, a lot more streams to bring talent into your school and into your program than traditionally you've had, where guys would go and sit at an Alabama and develop and wait their turn.
Yep.
Now they have the opportunity to go and play, and I think it's just this disbursement of talent across the board has allowed teams to do that quickly and turn things around.
More parity.
And again, the NIL side of that is you have athletic departments now that can shuffle funds into priority positions, if that makes sense, or priority programs within their athletic department. And I think that's going to be something that you're going to see to continue in college sports. And Indiana's a perfect example, to your point. Cignetti comes in, really lights a fire, and now all of a sudden the backing behind Indiana football, top to bottom, from the alumni base to the athletic department, has been something I don't think they've ever seen before, but there's a reason for them to do it, and frankly, Curt Cignetti and the team have earned that, which is super cool to see.
Yeah.
Kind of like economics play out before our eyes.
Right. Yeah, I just think naturally, NIL, anytime you add money into the equation, naturally it shifts cultures. You see guys like, Nick Saban, who's a longtime Alabama head coach, kind of be sick of it. And, maybe he was over it and, it's not really what he signed up for. So you lose some cultural aspects of the why guys play and the why, guys push themselves at the way they do. The motivation is different now. So culturally around the game, around what's going on, guys moving from school to school, guys not dealing with adversity and just going to go play for another school because there's opportunity there that we didn't see earlier. So I think from that aspect is the reason also why we're seeing schools kind of come out of nowhere, so to speak.
And I want to take that and start to look at the coaching search and the jobs that are open right now. Obviously, you have Penn State, LSU, Auburn. There's some big jobs open. Does that then change the expectation for fans? Like, is everyone going to be a quick fix like Indiana? Is that par for the course now? Do you have that honeymoon period, or should we be expecting different, especially when you look at all the jobs that are open in some really big jobs?
I think circumstantial. I think it's circumstantial, right? Because here's the thing. At the end of the day, a lot of these jobs have guys like Lane Kiffin at the top of the list, which would subsequently leave Ole Miss open now, which I think would be another hot list job. You know what I mean? Eli Drinkowitz with Missouri. Is he a guy, when that opens up, people are like, oh, Missouri's had some support. They're backing that program. That could be another opportunity. So it's only going to continue to expand, I think, as this whole coaching carousel goes around. But I think what you ultimately have to find out is what happened yesterday isn't necessarily going to be successful today. Mm-hmm. So the unique part about the chaos in college football and all the parity is that it opens up an opportunity for creative problem solving. Yep. And I think that there's new models that are going to start to emerge throughout all of this transition and different litigation around NIL and different shifting of the transfer portal and different focuses that you have to now put into all of these things that are ever changing for the past 4 years as a program. It's going to create an opportunity to create new formulas that work depending on the situation.
And I want to follow up on that because I was listening. I thought you and Jason had a great discussion last week when you were on location at City Tap House in the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Short drive for Christian that week. Yep. But you were talking about the model of if you compare a head coach and a GM. Like, that's going to be a big part of this hire for Penn State. What is that dynamic with head coach and GM? It's the model that now Penn State has a chance to be a leader in that area instead of just following suit in what other programs are doing.
Yeah, I think that's the one that's become the most evident, right? Because when I look at this Penn State job and you look at this school, this town, the development, how much this program's meant to this culture and community, the only thing we're missing is a football coach. Like an X's and O guy who's really intent on the product on the field. We have great facilities. We have great backing. We have great alignment from the athletic department, the academic side, and the overall leadership at the university with Neely and her team. So you need to just put someone in here that can motivate, get the right talent, and put that together. So with that being said, like, at the end of the day, a lot of those guys don't really want to deal with the CEO-ship, putting on shows and recruiting. Yep. Just put a GM in there and give them a little budget. Let them figure it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that, resembles most like an NFL building at the end of the day. Yeah. And I think, college coaches are just asked to do so much. You're the main talking head. You're the football coach. You're the main recruiter. You're on the road doing this, that, and the third. And I mean, you got to recruit your own players now as well as new players, which is crazy to say, but I mean it's the truth. You got to recruit your own players
every day
just to stay. So it's a lot. So I think having a GM in that equation really takes some of those responsibilities away from the head coach, and it just allows the head coach to be the most productive, the most efficient, and do what he needs to do, which is at the end of the day being a football coach first.
And what we've seen is winning cultures attract everything that you need to continue to win.
Yes.
The minute though that changes, now there's questions. Yeah. Now from a recruiting standpoint, I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So at the end of the day, winning cures all. So get the right guy in here who can do that and let all the other stuff become somebody else's problem.
Yeah.
And it's also an NFL model now where you can lose a game or 2 games, and I think we're trending towards even 3 games when the SEC goes to 9 conference games as well, and still be a contender for a national championship. That just happens to be where we're going. We're going here on the Penn State Football Modelo pregame show is we're going to preview today's matchup against Indiana. The team will be arriving very soon here. The Indiana buses just went by. I know the Penn State buses are going to be pulling up outside the South Tunnel as well here today. So Penn State and Indiana. Modelo, the sponsor of today's program, and also the official import beer sponsor of Penn State football. 21 plus. Please drink responsibly. We'll get into today's game between the Lions and the Hoosiers when we come back.
This is the mark of a fighter. A rich, full-flavored lager with a crisp, refreshing taste. A reward for those with a fighting spirit. You've earned this, so hold it up high. Modelo, the mark of a fighter.
We are going for all the marbles next year.
You know the history, and you have felt the roar. But now, you can relive it all. Welcome to the Vote on Roar Plus, where every unforgettable Penn State moment lives forever.
If you can get people to believe you're fair, I think that's the whole secret of coaching.
From black and white grit to high-def glory, the Vault is your front row seat to the moments that built this tradition and the ones that built you as a fan. It's not just history, it's Penn State history. And it's all right here at Roar Plus. The roar never stops.
This is the mark of a fighter. A rich, full-flavored lager with a crisp, refreshing taste. A reward for those with a fighting spirit. You've earned this, so hold it up high. Modelo, the mark of a fighter.
Welcome back here in the shadow of Beaver Stadium ahead of Penn State and number 2 Indiana here on a chilly November morning now outside of Beaver Stadium. Let's check in with the 4th member of our team inside the friendly confines for the first time today, Kaylee Tallman. Kaylee, I hope it's a little bit warmer inside for when everyone comes on in.
I don't know about a little warmer. The shade in here is really not doing me well. I was okay this morning. Not so great right now. I'm shivering. Teeth are chattering. I had to take my hand out of the pockets to get this hit done. But yeah, it's not warm in here. But head coach Curt Cignetti is coming in here looking to get Indiana's first win in Beaver Stadium. And head coach Curt Cignetti has said numerous times that all he does is win. He also has the record to back it up. When he got the Indiana job in 2024, he came into that job with a 119-35 record. Now, since he's been at Indiana for the past 2 seasons, he's just improved that, going 20-2, which is, like you guys have said, the second best in college football, just second to the national champions, Ohio State. So he wins, and he's done it by using the transfer portal. He's made fundamentally sound teams. Now, Brian, all 3 of you have talked numerous times about the lack of fundamentals that Penn State has had. Not necessarily a lack of talent, but they don't necessarily do the little things right. They're not cohesive. Indiana does. They're not a team full of superstars, but they do those little things right, particularly bringing in Fernando Mendoza at the quarterback position from Cal. He's been incredible for that team so far this season. All of that being said, Curt Cignetti has a lot of respect for this Penn State program, as well as head coach Terry Smith. Here's what he had to say in the press conference earlier this week.
All right, Penn State this week, okay? This, you know, they're in the top 25 in the ESPN Football Power Index, 22, I think, still. Same guys they started the year with, for the most part, that was ranked number 1 to number 3 in the country. So a lot of good football players at all positions, playing really hard here. Terry has done a really good job of sort of rejuvenating these guys. And it'll be his first opportunity to play a game at home. tough place to play, 100,000 plus people. They're a really good football team.
Curt Cignetti and head coach Terry Smith actually know each other from their time back in Pittsburgh. They're both Pennsylvania natives, have coached at some similar programs throughout Pennsylvania to start their careers. And Curt Cignetti actually reached out to Terry Smith when he got the coaching job, just wishing him luck, talking him through it, and has said that Terry Smith has done a really good job kind of bringing the cohesion and camaraderie back to this team. He also said Penn State is a dangerous team. You heard it there. He mentioned two things in particular. Number one, the dangerous running game. Katron Allen, Nicholas Singleton. We've talked about it all season long. Katron Allen in particular was very, very good, especially in that first half against Ohio State. He said, yeah, it's unfortunate that there's two of them. They're both NFL caliber guys. And also he talked about Ethan Grunkemeyer. Grunkemeyer was kind of thrown into that starting quarterback role mid-season, and he's improved with every snap he's gotten. So he's seen that improvement over the past 2 games. And I'm assuming he's going to think that that's going to continue with a better game for him today. Now, Brian, I know you've been impressed with Indiana on both sides of the ball so far this season. What have you seen from them?
Well, Kaylee, that's great stuff, and I'll just read you this. The number 1 scoring offense at 46-plus points per game. The number 3 scoring defense at almost 11 points per game, less than 11 points per game. Number 3 in total offense nationally. Number 7 in total defense, and a plus 12 turnover margin. That's second nationally as well. And they won 55-10 at Maryland last week, running for 367 yards and had 5 takeaways on the defensive side. They are legit. This is a very, very good Indiana football team that's coming in here today.
Top to bottom. You got a confident coach, confident leader. I think the team plays with the same type of attitude as their leader. And at the end of the day, like I said, this is a very simple game. You get the right things going in the right direction from a scheme standpoint with your personnel, and you inject a ton of confidence into them, and you get a really good product. And this I think this Indiana team is the embodiment and the epitome of that concoction right there. And it's going to be a tough challenge for our guys considering where we are mentally versus where this team is mentally. You're going to have kind of that men in black like eraser as for Terry Smith and this football team to get them motivated to play because like Curt Cignetti said, from a talent standpoint, it's not an issue. So if you're able to kind of forget everything that's happened the past few weeks and just roll it out there and play, matchup-wise, it should be a good football game. But I just fear the confidence level is going to be something that's going to be a big factor for us.
Yeah, and I mean, I appreciate the coach speak from Curt Cignetti and his little press conference there, but I've seen a lot of Curt's press conferences. He's a very confident, if not borderline arrogant dude. This is a guy who's going to try to come in here and shove his Indiana football program up absolutely everybody's behind. So don't get it confused when he says Penn State has great players and this, that, and third. He's going to try to come in here and run the freaking score up because that's how he's feeling. That's how he has his players feeling. That's how he has them playing with that level of confidence, and it's really exactly what Indiana needed, and that's why I think they're so dangerous. It has a lot more to do with their coach, the swagger he brings, the level of confidence that he brings, the belief that they've got going on inside of their program is at an all-time high.
Really cool here as the Penn State football team makes its way into West Shore home field at Beaver Stadium today. Again, the first entrance for Terry Smith. Hard to believe this is the first time that they'll be at home post James Franklin. And they're making their way into the stadium right now. We're talking about Curt Cignetti. We'll get into some of the personnel for Indiana today, but just how he's done it so far, right? Last year comes in, brings a lot of players with him from James Madison. He was a guy who was on Nick Saban's staff at Alabama and bet on himself. He went to IUP, and that's where he started to take off, and his coaching career has been just exponentially growing ever since. The 20-2 record that Kaylee talked about, but it started last year with the transfers, and he's identifying the right talent. They're big up front. How has he done it?
I think Indiana, when you look at them, they haven't been a powerhouse, but they also haven't been a bottom feeder. They've had some good football teams, and I think when you look at where it's located, the type of talent pool they're pulling from, they're going to be physical up front on both sides, right? And if you can check that box and add some talent around on the outside, it's not a problem. And I think when you bring some teams from JMU, when you talk about the difference in skill level and impact in the game, the further away from the ball these players are, I think the less the jump is from 1AA to Big Ten, SEC play, right? Like if you put him in the right situation, and he went out and got a really good quarterback. with that little combination there, you're able to come out and ultimately make an impact. And like you said, I think the confidence is something you can't overlook, and his attitude and his approach. And I think it goes back to what you said, Trip. He bet on himself. So,
yeah, there's Terry Smith going into the stadium, too, there today. That's really good. It's got to be fun for you guys to see a guy you know so well, has represented the program so well, and has really done a great job as a position coach. But now, I think as an interim head coach, it's an impossible script. And not to completely change the course of discussion here, but it really is an impossible place to come into. Yeah. And I think the way he's conducted himself, his honesty, right, what he's done about as good of a job as he could in a really tough circumstance mid-season when he had to take over, who's on the schedule, the way everything kind of went down.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, you talk about an impossible script. I mean, from being a player here to then coaching to then seeing his nephew come here and play here to then being a assistant corners coach to assistant head coach to now interim head coach and leading these guys out. I mean, it might not ever happen again the way it's happened for Terry Smith. So, I mean, it's an incredible story. It's a huge deal. I'd love to see what little wrinkles he does today, whether it's in pregame, as he goes by. You know, every coach kind of has their thing. You know, some coaches go by and they give everybody a quick dap up that as they're stretching up and things like that. Some guys take the lap. You know, some guys link up arms with their players. So I'm excited to kind of see what the Terry tradition for the rest of the year is going to be like.
Well, Christian, Terry and his defense are going to have their hands full today with Fernando Mendoza, the Indiana quarterback who's playing as well as any player in the country right now.
Yeah, I think it's a great highlight, and I think we can roll some of his tape here. When you look at Fernando Mendoza and what we talked about, Indiana can run the football. As a quarterback, you come into that situation, it's pretty easy to be successful. And one of the things that I want to talk about with him is his pro-style type of feel. He's a guy who plays with a ton of anticipation, a ton of timing. When you look at just his feet, he's very, very pro-ready. Concoction of guys on the outside who could separate, a lot of confidence, a great running game. He's a kid who's just stepped in and has blossomed from somebody I don't think many people were talking about to now a potential Heisman candidate. And I personally believe a guy who is going to be one in the conversation for, if not the first quarterback taken in this year's draft, potentially top 2 or 3. So they've just played their way into it. He's been extremely confident. He's been extremely he's played with a lot of conviction. And, that's why you see what this team's doing, like you mentioned, offensively. High points, taking care of the football, not turning it over. Defense is taking it over, complimentary football across the board. He's going to present a challenge, as we've seen with a lot of these quarterbacks who can do it with both their arm and their legs.
Now, Indiana is dealing with a couple of injuries today. Drew Evans, their starting guard, will be out for today's game. Will that impact a running game that has 2 running backs, Roman Hemby, the transfer from Maryland, and Kaylon Black, both with over 600 yards on the ground already this year, and then Elijah Surratt, 609 yards receiving, 45 catches, 10 touchdowns, right up there with Omar Cooper Jr., one of their 1-2 combo at wide receiver. He had a hamstring. We're not sure if he's going to go today or not. But when you look at Mendoza's stats, too, like it backs it up. He's playing as well as anyone in the country right now. Look at these numbers. They're really impressive. Better than 70%, over 2,000 yards passing, and then the touchdown INT ratio.
That's what you need, man. As you look at the way the game of football, and specifically the offensive game of football, is going, even at the highest level, you're looking for guys who can throw it with timing and anticipation. Everything else really doesn't matter, and everything else on top of that is just that's sprinkles on top of the ice cream cone. If you can hit your spot when you're supposed to hit your spot, and understand why you're throwing it there, which he does, you're going to have a chance.
Yeah, and I think one of the traits that he has that NFL teams love so much. It's his quick release.
Yeah.
He might be the fastest release quarterback in college football right now. And when you talk about the anticipation level that he plays with, when you match that with a quick release as well, it's like the second he makes the decision of where he's going to go with the football, the ball's out of his hands.
Yep.
And that's a great trait to have. He's really decisive. He has calm feet. He knows when to go, when to run, when to tuck it. Even when he's running, he keeps his eyes down the field and finds receivers for broken down plays. He's got a lot of good stuff that NFL teams really like, and I expect him to be playing on Sundays. And like you said, he's really playing himself into the first round, at least in the conversations.
Fundamentally, from a technique standpoint, that release starts with his feet, and you just watched him in that clip. His feet are so concise, no wasted movement.
Yeah.
Very, very minimal movements to make throws. those are things that translate. And it's you mentioned about our pass rush. It's going to be tough. He's a guy who can move 6 inches and make a throw, as opposed to 6 feet and potentially put himself in a tough situation with Deny or any of our other edge rushers on the edge. So he's got a very good control of the pocket.
Yeah, and when he escapes that pocket, the problem for Penn State this year has been in those 2nd and long, 3rd and longs. The quarterback comes out and beats you. And Penn State's going to have to control their run game today. If Indiana runs the football today, Penn State is in a world of trouble. And you wonder with the guard out, Evans, if that's going to change things for them. And then on the other side, an Indiana defense that's only allowing 80 rush yards against per game this year. It's the 4th best rush defense in the country. Penn State's going to have to run the ball, control the clock, try to limit possession, slow this game down. If Penn State wants a chance today, it all comes down to stopping the run and being able to run the football.
Yeah. I think we got to play the game like we're Iowa. I mean, that's how I see this game playing out in our favor. We got to play the game as if we're an Iowa type of team. We got to control the clock, like you said. We got to run the football well, take our shots when it's time to take our shots, and keep that offense off the field as much as possible. Get off the field on 3rd down.
It's funny you mention Iowa because the closest game Indiana has played this year was the 20-15 win they had at Iowa. They also had the win where they had the defensive touchdown scored against them in that Oregon game. This is what's different about Indiana this year. Indiana last year, I think their best win was a win against an average Michigan team at home. Yeah. This year, they've already gone on the road to win at Iowa, and then they went to Autzen and beat Oregon. And this is an Indiana team that has already proven it this year.
Yeah, they're over the hump. They're over the hump with that, and I think that a lot of the experience they had last year where they did get punched in the mouth in those big games and they weren't quite able to ever recover, to your point about that interception in Autzen against Oregon, they came back and kept punching. And they were able to execute, and they always stayed in it. And it goes back to the confidence thing. Speaking about our side of the ball and the type of game we need to play, we're not confident enough to go out there and do it. I think from a personnel standpoint, we could probably turn this into a track meet, but we're just not – the product isn't playing with the level of confidence it needs in order to do that. So to your point, we need to slow this puppy down and try to make them as impatient as possible. Maybe they make a couple mistakes and we can take advantage of it if this is to be a game that is going to be tight for 4 quarters.
Absolutely.
All right, Kaylee Tallman's back inside. The sun is back out here. The team has arrived at Beaver State. Look at Kaylee smiling now. Kaylee, we're getting closer to kickoff.
I'm smiling because head coach Terry Smith just walked out here with the biggest smile on his face, too. He was rocking the jumpsuit, matching the team. Coach Franklin used to walk out in a suit always, so a little bit of a different look for him, but he was matching the team in that tracksuit, like I said, with the biggest smile on his face. I think he's just so excited to be home. I mean, we talked about it. Talk about a tough road. Kinnick Stadium and the shoe. You kind of are a little relieved to have the crowd back in your favor. He said that actually earlier this week in the press conference too. He didn't go on his walk like Coach James Franklin did around the stadium, but he did stand out here, took pictures with a lot of people who are down here on the sideline. Like I just said, just happy to be here. He walked out with his daughter. His daughter actually waved hi to me. I was like, wow, I feel honored. But yeah, they just seem happy to be here. And I think the cohesion, like you said, I mean, maybe rocking the same outfit as the team, that's part of the cohesion too. But I think his passion and his love for this program is just so evident in how he's spoken the past couple weeks, and then especially heading this week, finally getting to play in front of the fans here at Beaver Stadium. I think I'm pretty confident in saying that he's going to have a warm welcome from this crowd, just thankful to have brought some life back to this team. Also, Drew Aller, he was on the road at Ohio State supporting the team. He was a big voice for Ethan Grunkemeyer there between series at halftime and pregame as well. He just rolled out on his scooter to come out here before warm-ups today as well. So I'm sure Ethan Grunkemeyer will continue to confide in him, especially with another tough contest against Indiana. But hey, look, you talk about a statement win. This would be a statement win, not just for head coach Terry Smith, but for this Penn State team. They haven't really had that since 2016. So maybe against the number 2 team in the country, they'll finally get it done today.
Kaylee, great stuff. Appreciate it. I know Terry's parents are here. His whole family is here as well. I know you just saw that take place out there on the field. Might disagree with one thing you said there, but that's okay. Let's get into our Modelo Cup trivia for today. We've got a couple of Nittany Lion legends up here, so we're going to play a little game with you guys. It's going to be, this is Price is Right style, so you can't go over. It's going to be closest to best 2 of 3, all right? So it's a best of 3 questions. Our first question today, excuse me, I got to get up and look at the screen here a little bit closer. The Eastern cougar subspecies known as the Nittany Lion was officially declared extinct by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. In which year?
This is a complete shot in the dark for me. I'm going to go 1947.
Okay, that's Christian. Christian, 1947. Jason?
I'm going to go 1970.
All right, 1970. You know, if you're going to, and we're going to mix it up, if you're going to go over, just go up by 1. It's just a little Price is Right. I was an avid fan back in the day. Okay, here's the answer. 2011. So Jason gets number 1. 2011. Yep. Good try.
Nailed it.
All right, so we're going to do all 3 questions. Jason leads it 1-0. Oh, I think that might be your prize. Question number 2. Question number 2. Let's get it. Here we go. What is the distance in miles between the 2 Big Ten stadiums that are furthest apart? So not from Beaver Stadium. Well, maybe it is. But what is the distance in miles between the 2 Big Ten stadiums that are furthest apart? Jason, you have to go first this time.
I'm going to go 3,000 miles.
All right. Christian?
I'm going to go 2,999 miles.
Well, if you're going to... Can you go a little bit lower? Just a little bit lower. Because you can't go over. You got to go a little bit lower. Okay.
Oh,
2,841 between Washington and Rutgers. We're bending the rules. It's 1-1. All right, it's 1-1. Our third question.
I knew it
came up with these questions. These are the most irrelevant questions of all time. This is definitely Victor's product here. The Modelo Cup.
He's getting me. It had to have been Rutgers and Washington, right?
Yeah, Rutgers and Washington.
Right.
It wasn't the Coliseum. It was Rutgers and Washington. All right, third question. Let's go. Here we go. Here's the third one. This is the biggest crowd we've had all year. What is the elevation of Beaver Stadium? What is the elevation of Beaver Stadium?
Okay, so are we talking like the elevation above sea level?
Yeah,
or?
Above sea level. Above sea level.
Oh, my gosh, dude.
Come on. That's ridiculous.
This is yeah. Well, hey. Again, I did not write the question.
1,100 feet?
What?
1,100 feet?
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to go 1,101.
Jeez, this is brutal. This is brutal.
Let's go.
I mean, come on,
Look
dude.
at that's good.
I think
1,150 and your prize, just like you made you made a grand entrance one week, you're gonna make a grand exit today. You got to ride in the National Guardmobile. Today is military appreciation inside the stadium. Helmet stripe game, and Jason. Get on out of here. Great stuff as always. Modelo, the official import beer partner of Penn State football. There he goes, our winner of the Modelo Cup, Jason Kabinda, here on our pregame show. Watch, he's dangerous. Please drink and also ride responsibly. All right, well, we'll see you, Jason. Another good show.
Great show, Trip.
Great show.
Victor, that was unbelievable.
Unbelievable work. Thanks for the people that stopped by outside Gate A of the BJC here today. Penn State and Indiana, a noon kickoff coming your way on Fox and on the Penn State Sports Network. For Kaylee Tallman, Jason Kabinda, Christian Hackenberg, I'm Brian Tripp saying so long from our whole crew. Thanks for tuning in today to the Modelo Penn State football pregame show.
This is the mark of a fighter. A rich, full-flavored lager with a crisp, refreshing taste. A reward for those with a fighting spirit. You've earned this, so hold it up high. Modelo, the mark of a fighter.
We are going for all the marbles next year.
You know the history, and you have felt the roar. But now, you can relive it all. Welcome to the Vault on Roar Plus, where every unforgettable Penn State moment lives forever.
If you can get people to believe you're fair, I think that's the whole secret of coaching.
From black and white grit to high-def glory. The vault is your front row seat to the moments that built this tradition and the ones that built you as a fan. It's not just history, it's Penn State history. And it's all right here at Roar Plus. The roar never stops.
This is the mark of a fighter. A rich, full-flavored lager with a crisp, refreshing taste. A reward for those with a fighting spirit. You've earned this, so hold it up high. Modelo, the mark of a fighter.